Hey, what's going on today, guys? It's Trey. Welcome back to the channel. As always, welcome back to sunny, beautiful Germany. As you can tell by the title of this video, I am having surgery performed here in Germany. I injured my back in September, and I have waited a very long time for this day to finally come, but I'm having surgery and I want to talk to you guys about the entire process. So this is going to be a 3-part series. Episode 1, we're going to be talking about the pre-op process, then we're going to talk about the actual surgical procedure itself, and then we are going to talk about the recovery process. Unfortunately, I am no stranger to surgery. I've probably had about 10 plus surgeries in my life. I broke my nose. I've pretty much broken every single finger on my hand. I've had 2 knee surgeries. I've had some gastrointestinal issues. I've had my wisdom teeth removed. I guess you can just call me the Bionic Man because my body is destroyed, essentially. Now, if you are new to the channel, hi, my name is Trey. I'm an American living here in Stuttgart, Germany. I've lived here around a year and gosh, I just love it so much. I can't say that enough, but I really wanted to document as much of the experiences that I have had in this country. And so far, we have had an amazing time. I don't really have any complaints at all whatsoever. And I love it here, and hopefully we can stay here as long as possible. Now, before we dive too deep into the video and talk about my pre-op process, the very first thing that I wanted to talk about is how I became injured. So back in the latter part of September of 2022, I was lifting a bed by myself, very dumb, not smart. I had horrendous form. And I literally felt like a pop in my back, and I felt like this jolt of electricity shoot down my leg. I've never felt anything like this before. I've never had a back injury in my life. So I honestly just kind of brushed it off. We went to Paris a week later, and I had a really tough time while we were there, and I had really hoped it would have gotten better, but it just progressively got worse. And so when we came back to Germany, I decided to go to the hospital. They decided to perform an MRI and a CT, and they ended up discovering that I herniated my L5-S1 disc in my back. Now look, as a guy that is no stranger to injuries and pain, look, I've had pretty much every injury you could imagine, right? And to be honest, I didn't think that anything would be able to top breaking my nose and going through that surgical procedure. That was awful. There ended up being complications. I ended up having blood clotting in my sinuses. They ended up having to keep me at the hospital for an extra 24 hours. My blood pressure was through the roof. It was a really scary situation, but honestly, this back pain blows that out of the water. This has been a complete nightmare, and it has affected my life in a really, really big way. For a lot of you guys that follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm a huge runner. I run 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks. I just love to run. I haven't been able to run since the injury occurred, and it's just really drastically changed my quality of life. And yeah, it's really had a huge effect on me. Now, before actually seeing a neurosurgeon, I decided to actually work with a chiropractor, and so that process was really eye-opening to me because it proved that the injury was a lot worse than I thought it was. I went through 3 different sessions of epidural treatment, or epidural shots as we know, which is like the very long needle, and they stuck me 8 times in the back each session. It felt awful, right? And it didn't do anything. So it's like you're getting poked with this long needle and it's not doing anything. So at this point, we realized that I needed to actually see a neurosurgeon because that would be the only thing that would relieve the pain. And it's crazy, even where we are today, I'm still in so much pain. So as you could imagine, the pain was really immense back then. But so I met with one of the top surgeons here in Stuttgart. My neurosurgeon informed me that, Trey, when we see injuries like this, when you have this sciatica in your leg and you are literally having a difficult time living, the next step that we take is surgery. So they actually wanted to perform the surgical procedure as soon as possible because I was in immense pain, but I actually ended up putting the procedure off for a month because I knew that we were going to be traveling home to the United States to spend time with family, and I really didn't want to be traveling after back surgery. It just would have been a complete nightmare, and I didn't want to take that risk. So fast forward to now. Today is Thursday, January 12th, 2023. I'm having my surgery performed on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. So I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. I miss being able to run. I miss being able to pick up my son and not feel pain. I miss being able to do things with my wife and like go out and have fun. And I'm not gonna lie, everybody's got a story, right? I don't want to harp on how much this has changed my life, but I'm just ready to get this done. So now that you guys know the backstory, let's go ahead and talk about the pre-op process that I experienced, which just so happened today, as you can see. So this is gonna be a really in-depth part of the video. I'm just gonna go over my experience on the surface. So if you're expecting me to like tell you exactly about every single test that I went through, if you want me to like break down my enzymes and whatnot, this is not gonna be the video for you. This is gonna be a surface level video, just talking about the overall experience. So my appointment was around 8:00 a.m. I ended up getting to the hospital 30 minutes beforehand just to allow myself some time to park and sort of familiarize myself with the hospital. Hospitals here in Stuttgart are huge. And even though I've been to them before, there were a lot of different wings and corridors that I was going to be going to for the very first time during this visit. So I wanted to leave enough time to make sure that I made it on time, because Germans, as you know, are very poignant and they are very exact and direct when it comes to being on time. So I wanted to make sure that the doctors knew that I was serious about this. And obviously, like coming from a military family, like being on time, that's all I know. So I got there. The very first thing that I did was I checked in at the front desk. They informed me sort of like how my day was gonna look. They went through all of my paperwork, made sure that I actually had an appointment today. They informed me that I was going to be going through a number of tests during this visit. And they told me that I should allot for 4 to 6 hours of my day for this pre-op process. Now, the very first part of my pre-op process was actually a COVID-19 test. Now, obviously in the United States, you aren't really giving COVID tests anymore, sadly, but here in Europe, COVID is still very much a reality. And obviously it's still a reality in the United States, but they are still taking it very seriously here in Germany. So I got my rapid test done. The results came back negative, and that was it. That was the very first part. Couple swabs in the nostrils, swab in the cheeks, swab in the back of the throat, and yeah, it was very, very, very simple. Now, after getting my COVID test done, I was directed to the EKG department, which is responsible for essentially monitoring your heart, right? And making sure that your heart is healthy enough to be able to withstand surgery or withstand anesthesia. So I went in there. This process took about 30 minutes. They went through my entire medical history, asked me questions about my lifestyle. Do I smoke? Do I drink? Do I do drugs? Just asking me like your traditional questions that you would really get asked during any medical visit. And this was actually the part of the visit where they actually drew blood. So they drew blood, and sadly, I really hate to admit this, but I have been stuck so many times. I've had to give blood so many times. I honestly couldn't even tell that she stuck me. And when she was done, I was like, did you actually draw my blood? Because, she did such a great job of like communicating with me. We just had like a really great connection. I'm not really used to that when somebody's drawing your blood. It just tends to kind of be an awkward situation, because at least in my experience, the person doesn't really talk to me. I typically have to throw in like an awkward joke, and that's the end of it. But this lady was really nice. She was friendly. And yeah, it just really made that entire experience really pleasant for me. Now, after my blood collection sample, the very next thing that I did was they informed me to go into the restroom. They gave me a cup and they wanted to take a urine sample. They asked me to take a sip of it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I promise you, I'm just kidding. They told me to just leave the cup there. They would obviously run it through their testing and make sure that, there's nothing in my urine that's too bad. Yeah, that was the end of my process in the EKG department. And by the way, everybody is just so nice and friendly, and it's like they are so organized and so timely and just so professional. And obviously, like when you enter a German hospital for the first time and you don't speak German, a lot of the words and a lot of the language that is used can be very difficult and very intimidating, but everybody is just so nice. I do my best to speak German as much as possible, but man, it's just everybody was so Nice. So let's go ahead and talk about the next part of the pre-op visit. So at this point, I've literally got like a stack of paperwork, and all of this paperwork is very important in the pre-op process because it has everything from your COVID results to your date of birth to your address to how you got injured, to what surgery you're having performed, to what your blood type is, to what your diet is. There's so much information, and it's very thorough and very, very organized. So I've never personally experienced any pre-op process like this, but yeah, at this point in the visit, I had a pretty substantial amount of paperwork with me. So after spending some time in the EKG department, the very next department that I visited was actually the anesthesiology department, arguably one of the more important departments to visit. Now, since I'm having a pretty serious back surgery performed, the surgery actually requires general anesthetic to be administered. So what is general anesthetic, you might ask? Well, there's different types of anesthesia, obviously, right? There's local, there's regional, and then there's general. Local, for example, is like when you go in and like have a tooth removed, they'll typically administer a local anesthetic. On the other hand, if you're having brain surgery, that's typically the time when they're gonna knock you out completely, and that is what we refer to as general anesthetic. Now, this meeting with the anesthesiologist took actually a lot longer than I thought it would. She went through every single procedure that I have had performed, and she didn't just like ask me like, hey, what have you had done? She literally asked me like, hey, what caused the injury? What medicine was administered? What medication did you use afterwards? How is your heart? When you walk up the stairs, are you out of breath? Are you able to run a lap without collapsing? Asking me some very in-depth questions. And obviously that's because anesthesiologists need all the information possible to know exactly how to treat the patients that they work with. And obviously, no two patients are the same. So they have to make sure that they have all of the information that they need to be able to perform their job responsibilities as perfectly as possible. So we talked, we developed a relationship. You know, I'm literally telling this stranger all of my medical history, right? And once again, she's asking me about the smoking and drinking and, you know, the drug usage. She's asking me these important questions to make sure that I'm the right candidate for anesthesia. Because sadly, for some people, as we know, like if you use a lot of drugs or you smoke a lot or you drink a lot, sometimes those individuals might not be candidates for general anesthesia, right? Because there could be a number of different complications that occur. So, our interaction was great. Like I said, it took, 30 to 45 minutes. And yeah, it was, I'm gonna say it was probably like one of the more boring times of the visit, but definitely one of the most important interactions that I had during my visit. Now, moving on, the next person that I interacted with during my pre-op visit was actually the surgeon. He explained who he was and just kind of informed me about the process, what I should expect, asked me if I had any questions, but one thing that I thought was really cool, he went through my initial MRI results with me. He kind of showed me, obviously where the herniation had occurred in my L5-S1 clearly. And he was just very thorough. Now, my father works in radiology. I think that's why he like kind of perked up a little bit, because I like to kind of plug my dad whenever I have medical procedures performed. I don't know why, and this is really messed up to say, but I just feel like they kind of take you a little bit more seriously. And I find that they tend to answer questions that I have. I don't know if it's out of fear that I'm gonna relay the messages to my father or what, or maybe it's just some sort of strange, mysterious respect that can be found throughout the medical field. We spent several minutes just talking about the overall procedure. Now, one thing that I thought was really crazy is the surgeon actually informed me exactly what he was going to be doing throughout the procedure. And so obviously, if you know surgery, it's no two surgeries are ever the same, right? There's so many different things that can happen. But what I really thought was cool was he explained to me sort of how a microdiscectomy works, right? So he informed me that there's two different types. He informed me that they could either make a small incision or they could make a large incision. Basically, they're gonna be removing bone. They have to break through muscle. And then also they're gonna be, most importantly, removing that herniated disc. I thought that was really cool. Like the medical nerd and geek in me, like really appreciated that. Like he informed me like, hey, we're gonna be using this type of scalpel. We're gonna be using these type of sutures. We're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that. And yeah, I thought that was really, really personable, and I thought that it was really, really cool and genuine. So after my lengthy discussion with the surgeon then informed me that I would have to have a final x-ray performed just to be able to pinpoint where exactly the herniation had occurred, and also just to make sure that the doctors knew exactly what they were doing and how to prepare for the surgery. So I've never had this happen before where I have to have a second x-ray performed, but it just goes to show you how exact and pinpoint the Germans are when it comes to medicine and healthcare. And like this for me is probably the most important surgery that I'll ever have. Hopefully. I felt like the Germans were going above and beyond to make sure that they were comfortable performing the procedure, but also that I was comfortable having the procedure performed. So I had the x-ray performed. I ended up having to drop my trousers, which, you know, it is what it is. It's medicine. The kind of unfortunate part was the one day that I didn't freaking wear underwear. So it's like I got my junk hanging out. It is what it is. I've learned living here in Germany, nudity is just kind of a part of life here. So I'm sort of assimilating into the real German lifestyle. I guess you could say that that was like my initiation into nudity. So after having the x-ray done, I ended up going back up to the surgeon. They just basically informed me, hey Trey, you know, you are good to go. We'll see you bright and early on Tuesday. Whatever you do, don't eat and drink after 12 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday morning. And, you know, obviously if you need to eat or drink, you can actually have water, tea, or coffee before 6 a.m. Now me, I don't like to have anything at all. I typically just go dry after 12 a.m. the night before, and I call it a day. I'll have my drink when my surgery's finished. But so yeah, that was my pre-op process. Very thorough, very direct, and also just very eye-opening, right? What I want to do during this portion of the video is I want to talk to you guys about how a pre-op goes in the United States. And obviously, since I mentioned earlier, I'm a guy that is no stranger to medical procedures or surgical procedures. I know the pre-op process in America very well. The biggest difference between Germany and the United States is in the United States, your pre-op for probably 95% of the surgical procedures out there takes place on the day of your surgery. Germany, on the other hand, obviously today is Thursday, January 12th. My actual surgical procedure is not until Tuesday, January 17th. So we've still got about a week out, and they had my pre-op appointment basically a week before the procedure. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is that in the United States of America, when you have a microdiscectomy performed, it actually tends to be an outpatient procedure, which means after they perform the procedure, they obviously hold you in the hospital for a few hours, make sure that there's no infection, you know, they make sure that you're good, and then they send you on your way. Here in Germany, on the other hand, I'm actually gonna have to spend 2 full days in the hospital. So very, very different than being in the United States of America. But I think it's actually better to be monitored, and it just goes to show how much they truly value your well-being. Now, why I like the German system more is because I feel like it gives the patient a chance to mentally prepare themselves for what they're about to experience. I feel like the American way is a little bit more uncomfortable and sudden because it doesn't really give you a chance to think, and I think that it kind of creates anxiety for a lot of patients, right? You know, surgery is obviously very serious, no matter what it is. And so, yeah, I really appreciate the German method of surgery a little bit more than the American method because I feel like it's more pro-patient than it is pro-doctor or pro-medical system. Now look, I've said this on this channel numerous times. I feel like in Germany, they value people, and the United States of America, they value corporations. And, you know, no place is that more evident than the medical system. You know, unfortunately, a lot of patients are just seen as numbers in hospitals in the United States. When I walked into that hospital today in Stuttgart here in Germany, I felt like they actually wanted to make sure that I was taken care of. And that's not to say that I haven't been taken care of in American hospitals. It's just different, right? The treatment is different. The mindset is different. I feel like when people have an issue in Germany, they can comfortably walk into a hospital and receive the care that they need. It might take some time, but they can typically receive the care that they need. In the United States, on the other hand, when you walk into a hospital, in the back of your head, you got all these thoughts. Do I have insurance? Is my insurance gonna cover this? What happens if my insurance denies this? Am I gonna be able to afford this? Do I even wanna take the time to go into an emergency room because that bill's gonna be insane? Do I wanna go by ambulance because ambulance rides in the United States could be thousands and thousands of dollars, even if it's only driving for a couple of miles. So it's medicine is very different. And as somebody that is no stranger to healthcare, from having a father that has worked in healthcare my entire life to being a person that has experienced 10 plus surgical procedures, I think that the differences are very vast. So look, I don't want to go on a rant about really either healthcare system. I want to give it to you guys as straight as possible. And I know a lot of the people that are going to watch this video are German. Like, guys, this country is doing it right when it comes to healthcare. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit afraid at first, right? When I hurt my back and knew I was gonna have surgery. And I was really afraid because I didn't think that I would be able to articulate myself and articulate the feelings that I had, right? And I'm telling you what, my entire experience from, initial MRI to having the epidural injections to billing to now, being a few days out until surgery, it's been flawless, guys. And I'm extremely thankful. I'm not trying to get emotional or anything. It's just, I couldn't be more grateful to be having this procedure performed in Germany. And when I talk to my dad all the time about this surgery, and he's like, Trey, man, you are so lucky, because my dad used to live here in Germany. My dad was in the Air Force. He was stationed here in Germany back in the day. And so obviously he worked in healthcare then as well. So he knows just how serious the Germans take medicine and healthcare. It's very different than in the United States. And I can't explain that, especially to you Germans or to you Europeans that are watching this. I can't articulate it until you've actually felt it. And I wanted to make this video to tell you guys that I feel confident in this surgical procedure. I feel confident in the German system. I sadly have zero confidence in the American system. And as somebody, that, as I mentioned throughout this video, that has a family member, a direct family member that works in medicine, that just really hurts me, right? Because I see the passion that my dad has had for nearly the last 40 years of his life, ever since working in the Miami hospital system to being in the military and working in healthcare in that realm. It's just, it's tough, man. It's a tough pill to swallow that, people sadly in the United States aren't getting the care that they need. I know that was a little bit of a rant there at the end, but that was my pre-op visit. So thank you guys for listening to my experience. I know this isn't the most exciting stuff to talk about, right? But, as I say regularly, I want this channel to be transparent. I want you guys to know what's going on in our life. Life is very short, right? Life is very precious. And I feel like if we don't talk more and if we don't connect more, I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice. I want to be as genuine and real with you guys as possible. And I want you guys to feel like you can come here and just kind of let go of it all and just kind of unwind and kind of listen to me flap my chops, because that's essentially what most of these videos are. But I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm really, really thankful for this life-changing surgery that I'm about to have performed. And yeah, we're gonna talk more about the surgery in the next portion of the video, part 2. But yeah, I'm stoked. I was scared at first, being in a foreign country, but once I realized where I was and once I started seeing the level of care that was provided, all of that fear is gone right out the window. So yeah, this is a really great place to be. So if you are going to be having a surgical procedure performed here in Germany and you found this helpful, or if you're just one of my subscribers that watches my videos because you appreciate me and you respect me, please smash that thumbs up, as it helps this channel out in a number of ways. Or if you're just a person that, the YouTube algorithm just threw this video at you, I'd really appreciate the love. It helps out so much. I want to hear you guys' experience at German hospitals and having surgery performed here in Germany. And I also want to hear from you Americans out there as well. And honestly, just You don't even have to be from Germany or America. If you've had surgery performed, I want to hear about your experience. Was it good? Was it bad? How do you feel now? So set your alarms. January 17, 2023, your humble narrator will be going under the knife. I will be having an incredible, life-changing back surgery, which, trust me guys, I need really bad. My back is killing me. As I always say, lift with your legs. Thank you guys for all the continued love and support. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything. I promise you, we are gonna be good. So yeah, thank you.